Thanks,
Thank you.
Alex. We'll now turn to a few questions from our shareholders before opening up the call. Our first question is from Christina, who asks, what is so unique about the ontology? How does it give you an edge over your competitors? And why wouldn't any of them be able to recreate something similar?
Why can't competitors replicate Palantir's advantage? The answer will shock you. Watch now.
Well, thank you, Christina, for the question. I think we could start by thinking about if I was building software to solve problems for one company, well, you don't need an ontology. You just take the shortest path between A and B, and that doesn't involve ontology. You could think about, okay, what if I'm building enterprise software for many customers in a traditional way, not a forward-deployed engineering way where I'm thinking about it deductively. I have large multi-year implementations. Never mind that those things never work, but the traditional software industrial complex, you're not even going to conceive of ontology. But if you have the ambition to build software that works across government, across 50 different industries, you have to build ontology. It is absolutely the longest path between point A and point B, but it gives you superpowers when you show up to your customers. And it gives your customers superpowers when they're managing the change in their enterprise, mergers and acquisitions, fighting the entropy of the universe, competing in the market. But what makes ontology essential is AI. Ontology ends up being the intermediary representation that makes your enterprise accessible to AI in a way that's governed and secure and provides you the observability that you need so that you can actually trust the AI. But more importantly, the observability your regulators need so they can trust in your transition to being a self-driving company.
Palantir's insistence on ontology isn't just about making AI work. It's about making AI trustworthy. Regulators and executives alike need transparency, and without that structured representation of enterprise data, AI is just a black box. This is why Palantir isn't just another enterprise software company. It's redefining how organizations evolve.
And it also allows you to manage them so that the actual taxonomy and ability to put the large language model where it can be more exact, so it can be managed at scale. You could think of it as what we do on the Foundry backend, where we have it create pipelines. It's basically anti-segmenting the data. To get the AI to actually work in an enterprise, you have to resegment, reconcatenate the large language models in a way where the use case is thin enough that they can actually provide exact enough information, and the concatenation of that is exact enough to provide real results in an enterprise context, meaning you can rely on the large language model to do the same thing 500 people would be doing who are experts in dealing with text, and you can do that with 3 people. And then the question that Shyam is answering is also, but why is it hard to build it? So now we know that Palantir is succeeding and has this, pick your stat, rule of 81, growth with basically a nascent sales force.
Palantir's approach isn't just about automating work. It's about precision at scale. The ability to restructure data so that AI can replace entire teams with just a few people is game-changing. This isn't just optimization, it's a complete restructuring of how enterprises function.
It's actually very hard to build because in order to have an idea how to do this, you would have to have taken all the lessons of every single product we built, including security models, including how do you interact with the data of an actual enterprise, how do you impose branching, and then you'd have to interact with that and build something to work with the large language models, not as you thought they were, not as you'd like them to be, but as they are. And that process probably will begin for lots of companies now. It is a very long and hard process to do this in a productized form. And one of the reasons people didn't figure this out is because tech companies don't actually need this because they have one company or they have something, but it is not a product. Taking this from one company to a company that can install this anywhere requires a very specialized, dedicated product building culture with deep understandings of understanding the enterprise. Last not least, in order to be able to teach the large language model to get more exact, precise information, you would have to have a secure and cleaned access to the underlying data of the enterprise. No other company in the world has that kind of access like Palantir, and that's why we're completely uniquely positioned to do this. And luckily for the world, we're very long America, and we're doing it primarily here because it's powerful as fuck.
Thank you both. Our next question is from Kamal, who asks, how will the new Chinese AI model DeepSeek impact Palantir, and how can Palantir mitigate its impact?
Building AI for a single company is one thing. Productizing it for global enterprise use is something entirely different. Palantir has done what others can't: create a secure, scalable, and battle-tested AI framework that companies can actually deploy. That's why they're years ahead of the competition.
Well, I think one of the obvious lessons of DeepSeek R1 is something that we've been saying for the last 2 years, which is that the models are commoditizing. Yes, they're getting better across both closed and open, but they're also getting more similar, and the price of inference is dropping like a rock. But I think the real lesson, the more profound one, is that we are at war with China. We are in an AI arms race. And I got into a disagreement with Sam Altman about this at the Senate AI Summit over a year ago, where I was arguing that we are in an AI arms race, and there's an opposing view that we can all get along and we can cooperate on these things. And I'm sure the other side feels quite different, realizing that their IP has been stolen in this process here. But this war started long ago. It was an economic war with the ascension of China to the World Trade Organization, the greatest IP theft in history, the greatest wealth transfer in history. It is an opium war. The number one cause of deaths of 18 to 45-year-olds in this country is fentanyl. That is coming from China. It is a diplomatic war. The Belt and Road Initiative is basically indentured servitude for other countries to the CCP here. And the unprecedented phase zero gray zone operations of the CCP.
The narrative that AI will be a cooperative global effort ignores geopolitical realities. China has leveraged technology for control and influence for decades. Palantir, by contrast, is ensuring that AI remains a force for security and resilience in the West, rather than a tool for authoritarian expansion.
How many times are we going to believe that anchors are dragged across the sea that cut undersea cables here? But I think one of the things, China knows they're at war. The question is, we kind of equivocate on it as a peace-loving nation. But one of the things I want to make sure we all do realize is that the engineering in R1 is exquisite. The optimizations that they've done are really impressive. And I don't think you can get away with the facile explanation that the Chinese just copy and we're the only innovators. We have to wake up with the respect for our adversary and realize that we are competing. But they absolutely did steal a lot of that through distillation of the models, and perhaps they stole even more. And then you can look at the GPU sales growth in Singapore. It's a tiny island nation. I'm pretty sure there's some sanction invasion going on there. And we have to realize that the AI race is winner take all, and it's going to be a whole of nation effort that extends well beyond the DoD in order for us as a nation to win. And that M-Day was yesterday. The time to mobilize has come.
Thank you, Shyam. Our next question is from Dan with Wedbush. Dan, please turn on your camera, and then you'll receive a prompt to unmute your line.
Thank you. So, well, my question is,
By the way, Dan, we don't
talk
hear
about,
you.
are you surprised at all?
Can you repeat the question? We didn't hear you. Thank you.
Yeah, are you surprised at how quick these sales cycles are actually taking place from when a customer first meets Palantir to now deploying AI initiatives? I mean, does that surprise the team at all?
How many times are we going to pretend these incidents are coincidences? The AI race isn't just about who builds the best models. It's about who controls the infrastructure, the supply chains, and the enforcement mechanisms. If we don't take this seriously now, will we even have a chance to catch up later?
I would say I'm not surprised because of the energy we feel on the ground in talking to customers and the impact. Shyam shared some examples, taking a back office process from the largest banks from 5 days to under 3 minutes, taking what used to automating a process for an automotive supplier from what used to take 100 hours to be automated with just a human check, and seeing the reactions of those customers when those are implemented, and seeing the impact, and seeing them wanting to move quickly, seeing them wanting to start quickly, expand quickly, and essentially stay ahead of their competitors. Like, feeling that energy and feeling that reaction on the ground, I'm not surprised because you feel it. It's tangible.
What surprises me a lot is just, customers and especially countries are just reacting completely differently. So in broad swaths, American companies have approached this revolution in a very pragmatic way, which is, so we had all these, experts saying that what you ought to do is buy a large language model and install it on your enterprise. And customers are like, great, we'll try that. But we're also going to try Palantir. And there's really no ideology in aggregate in this country defining how people do things. It's about output. How quick is that output? And there's a lot of communication between enterprises in America, so especially in sectors. So people talk about what's working and what's not working. And if in distinction, if you look at Europe with 13% of our business and 4% growth rate last year. So compare that, it's like more than 10x better in America in US Comm, right? And what's really happening there is people are reading literally basically PowerPoints of how you did tech installations in the 50s. And that's what they're doing. And what is jarring to me is that you just see radical adoption from some clients. Again, you do have some people in America who are still doing science projects, but it's how could it be that one set of companies in one geography adopts, and in a very culturally similar geography, people are just like, okay, great, but that's not how we do it. And so and this, by the way, is not just, we talk a lot about U.S. commercial because we can't really talk in detail about what's happening on the battlefield. But the battlefield, and Sham could talk about this basically forever, that this is basically, we enjoy it, it's equally divergent. It's like you have cultures that are like, we have to fight in a way that suits our culture, that suits our ethics, where we have a primacy of winning and a primacy of maintaining our values. And those cultures are rebuilding how they fight, rebuilding the things that they think are valuable, looking at the evidence of what worked, what didn't, what was the cost structure. And meanwhile, there's just a lot of people who are just like, yeah, but that could get in the way of vacation. And so it is really, really jarring. I think one of the things I am sympathetic with when investors look at Palantir is like, yeah, but it's very hard to know because people are going on different paths. But yeah, in America, in aggregate, the response is, I expected this to work in X amount of time. You got it to work and beat what I was expecting in 1/10, 1/20th, 1/50th of the time. And by the way, the other thing that is super surprising is, 2-3 years ago, when we were doing Foundry or even some of our kind of more sensitive things in the military, I believe we were delivering results that were, in 6 months would have taken 10 years, and they were things that people couldn't do. But now, because of the time and the power, you can't really hide it as easily in some department of your enterprise. So what would happen to us in the past is we would do a pilot, we'd do an enterprise thing, and because obviously people didn't appreciate my charm, and there were no steak dinners, and we weren't laughing at your jokes, and we were probably saying the wrong things at the wrong times, that thing got stuck in some part of the enterprise. Everyone knew it was the most important thing about the enterprise, but no one would acknowledge it. And now it's just too powerful. People are like, yeah, don't particularly like them. They don't after dinners. They don't wear suits. Sham's hard to understand for me. But the results are massive. And that's what's driving the results in the U.S.
Palantir's success in the U.S. isn't just about the tech. It's about a results-driven culture. American enterprises prioritize speed, efficiency, and competition, whereas in Europe, adoption is often slowed by rigid, outdated processes. The gap between AI adopters and laggards will only widen, and those who hesitate may never catch up.
That's what's driving the 54 number that we did last year, and we're guiding to this year in U.S. commercial. That's what's driving the beat. That's what's driving our ability to really maintain our culture. By the way, it's also the rule of 81 really comes from this reaction to our company, but also because we can stick to our culture, our ontology of Palantir. We do not need 500 extra people a quarter. We can really power these things because the pull, when people actually see it, is enough to break down the institutional barriers, the political bullshit that often we were not able to break through in the past.
Thank you. Our next question is from Mariana with Bank of America. Mariana, please turn on your camera, and then you'll receive a prompt to unmute your line.
Good afternoon, everyone. So my first question is about disruption. Palantir has been actually thriving when there is disruption from the very beginnings of the company, 9/11, coronavirus, supply chains, LLMs. Now everyone is really concerned about DOGE with the change of administration. I could imagine a focus on efficiencies, a focus on software modernization, digitalization could actually be a really good opportunity for you. I don't know if you can deep dive on how is Palantir positioned to that. And my second question, probably to Dave, but like, I don't know, Shyam as well. When you see this demand, where do you invest to make sure that you're prepared to actually execute on it? Like, is it talent? Is it sales? Is it engineers? Is it partnerships? Like, what do you do to make sure that you can actually capture this opportunity?
Palantir isn't just another software company. It's a strategic necessity in times of upheaval. Disruptions, whether economic, political, or technological, accelerate the need for AI-driven decision-making. With its ability to break through bureaucratic roadblocks, Palantir is poised to lead the next wave of digital transformation.
Thank you.
Well, on the first question here, I mean, I think no one really knows, but we sense a huge amount of fear amongst the traditional system integrators and providers here, the traditional providers to the monopsony. But we're pretty optimistic, and I think if you look at my comments over the past, even my recent Senate Armed Service testimony last week, Palantir's real competition is a lack of accountability in government. These forever software projects that cost an insane amount, that don't actually deliver results. They're sacred cows of the deep state. You can think about dcsocialmediadc. It cost billions of dollars and it didn't work. Soldiers in
$6 billion. Yeah.
Soldiers in war zones preferred Palantir because it worked, and it happened to only cost millions of dollars. And I think DOGE is going to bring meritocracy and transparency to government, and that's exactly what our commercial business is. The commercial market is meritocratic and transparent, and you see the results that we have in that sort of environment, and that's the basis of our optimism around this. I think the work that we've done in government, it's deeply operational, it's deeply valuable, and we're pretty excited about exceptional engineers getting in there under the hood and being able to see that for a change.
We love disruption, and whatever's good for America will be good for Americans and very good for Palantir. And I think you got it exactly right. Disruption, in the end of the day, exposes things that aren't working. There'll be ups and downs. There's a revolution. Some people can get their heads cut off. It's like we're expecting to see really unexpected things and to win. Basically, that's what we're going to do. See unexpected things, report expected things, and win. And we're planning to do that, and we're pretty optimistic about the U.S. environment.
Disruption doesn't just expose inefficiencies, it makes them impossible to ignore. As the U.S. government shifts towards transparency and efficiency, Palantir is positioned to lead, not follow. The question isn't whether this change is coming, it's how fast the old system collapses.
On the investing front, it is quality engineering, right? It's quality engineers, and you can see it sort of how we set up our comp programs, and obviously that does mean headcount's going to grow somewhat, but really it is the quality engineers, more than the quantity, and you'll continue to see us, do that this year. We did it last year, particularly in the back half, and you're seeing it sort of in the numbers in Q1 and beyond.
Yeah, you also, by the way, for the first time, people want to partner with us. It used to be partnership meetings were complete waste of time and BS, largely so people could fill out a report that they met with us kind of thing, like high school dating for nerds. I met with them, perfect, I'm not going out with them. That was our experience with partnerships. Now, even the last couple of weeks, I've had real partnership discussions because a lot of these people who own verticals have to deliver. They're under a lot of pressure, and people know how good our products are. And last not least, what we're really investing in my view, is we have a truly unique culture. I visit with companies every week. I've been doing it for 20 years. I've never seen a company or a culture anything like ours. And that's what we have to fight to keep. And every single Palantirian is special.
Partnerships used to be a formality. Now they're a necessity. The pressure is on across industries, and companies are realizing Palantir isn't just an option, it's the solution. And that's why our engineering investments are about quality, not quantity.
Everyone here is doing something unique. We need to continue to attract and retain people who are different, think differently, are different, and get them focused on the world's most important missions, building products the way we know how to build them. And that's our primary investment strategy. And it's not actually a question of money, which, means that that's how we crush the margins. It's about talent and, just building really great things, the things you ought to build, not the things you're supposed to build, and getting them to the front line.
Thank you all. Alex, as always, we have a lot of individual investors on the line. Is there anything you'd like to say before we end the call?
We're doing it. We're doing it. And I'm sure you're enjoying this as much as I am. Let's not talk to analysts about the burden of being right. our burdens of investing in ontology, our burdens of actually looking at the math, the burden of reading what the Rule of 40 is, the burden of being honest about what an enterprise software company is, or the burden of explaining to your friends that you're really happy. Maybe we should just stop talking about it. I'm very happy to have you along for the journey, and you are partners for us. Every Palantirian, we are crushing it. Everyone else who's listening, we are dedicating our company. We have dedicated our company to the service of the West and the United States of America, and we're super proud of the role we play, especially in places we can't talk about. And we love our success in the U.S. and globally. Also, you know, we are doing in the United Kingdom and many other places. Palantir is here to disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world, and when it's necessary, to scare enemies and on occasion kill them. And we hope you're in favor of that.
Palantir's approach is a masterclass in prioritizing talent and vision above all else. While many companies chase immediate profits, Palantir stays committed to building innovative solutions through the best minds in the industry. This dedication to purpose over margins is what enables them to disrupt industries and form partnerships that challenge traditional approaches. By focusing on what truly matters, creating real-world impact, and leading with integrity, they continue to push boundaries that others are afraid to. Their success is a reflection of this unique mindset.